Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Sunday morning the 7th of December and yet again we are going to Northeast Tennessee today to the case of missing then 5-year-old Summer Moon Utah Wells, who was reported missing around 6:30 p.m. on June 15th, 2021. She was last seen outside of her home in the Beech Creek community of Hawkins County, which nestles gently in between the towns of Kingsport and Rogersville, and she has never been seen since. There's been a break in the case recently that we've talked about extensively on this channel, and one of the things that has come up during the conversations that have been renewed because of this break in the case is to do with the search dogs, the scents, the footprints. Where exactly did the dogs track Summer's scent to, and what happened then? Earlier this week, I responded to the DT show, and then last night, I've just finished watching this, Ryan got two friends of his who are dog search people, dog search specialists. This live stream can be found on both Ryan Finds Truth and DT's channel, so watch it wherever you prefer if you're on the replay crew like me. So, it's interesting. I am going to respond to some points of this. Now, the live stream went on for nearly 3 hours, so I'm going to be very selective what I choose, or else we're going to be here for hours and hours and hours and hours. And we're not going to do that. We're going to pick the most pertinent points and see what we get to. Let's go. Before we get into the video, can I just ask, once again, if you're not yet subscribed, please do so. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year, and with a lot less than a month to go now, like 3.5 weeks to go, I don't know that I can do it. I've got well over 1,000 subscribers to find from somewhere, but every little helps. So click that subscribe button. If you're not subscribed, it is completely free. I just realised I'm not subscribed to Ryan Finds Truth, and I am now. That's all you need to do. It's as easy as that. If you are subscribed and you want to help me out, like the video, hype the video if you see the hype button, leave a comment and share my videos, because all of those things help in the YouTube algorithm. It shows YouTube that people are engaging with my content, and it'll bring more people to the channel. Right, without further ado, we're going to start this about an hour in. They've already talked about the scent going down the dog trail that Don Wells talked about. While I'm talking here, I'll play the clip that Don Wells did of him going down the dog trail and coming out on Ben Hill Road. And this is where he said he was told that a scent dog, a live scent tracker dog, on the 16th of June, so the day after Summer disappeared. One of the things that a lot of people are saying, and it could well be true, the scent stopped to the bottom of the dog trail on Ben Hill Road because she was put into a vehicle at that point and driven away. That could well be true. However, there are other reasons why a dog might lose scent. A dog might lose scent because the surface changes. And I know these guys talked about it and said our dogs are trained on, lots of different surfaces. Yes, they are. That's fine. I get that. And as I said in the last video on this topic, the dog might be very well trained on a whole variety of different surfaces. But when that scent goes from a strong scent to a weak scent, that dog gets confused. I'm not saying that the dog would never be able to pick up the track again. What I would do, if I was in that position, I'd give the dog a break, I'd re-scent the dog, and I'd start the dog again at the point where it stopped and see whether it could pick up the trail again. If it can, great. If it can't, and there's absolutely no scent whatsoever to be found from that point, then okay, you've got an issue. Potentially the person you're tracking has got into a vehicle. But something disrupted that scent. There's other things that could disrupt the scent. Loads of people were down on Ben Hill Road, so there was loads of people there the evening before when Summer was reported missing. Loads of people there that morning, and you can clear the space while the dogs work, but you've already got disrupted scent patterns because of so many people walking along, and on an artificial surface that scent will disrupt a lot easier than it will on a natural surface. Okay, We're going to start here, and this is the point where they start talking about Dave Rader from EquiSearch, very well respected search and rescue organisation. I play the clip from his conversation with Police Off the Cuff, and I'll play that again in a little while, about the footprints and the scent that was found on the 19th of June, so 4 days after Summer disappeared. But this is a different clip. This is talking to Duty Ron and Police Off the Cuff. So we're going to start here, because Dave Rader was under the impression that the scent stopped at the bottom of the driveway.
He described where the scent trail ended, and it differed from where Dawn said the scent trail ended. And I thought it did. I'm going to share with everyone today. We went to a Christmas tree, missing persons Christmas tree event at the mall today in Kingsport. And
yes, there's a video of that on Jenky's channel. I'll leave a link to it in the description box if you want to go and watch it. It's not the most exciting thing you've ever seen. It's people decorating a Christmas tree. But Don and Candice were there, and you do see Ryan talking to Don. So, confirmation that yes, absolutely. I know people... People get really like, well, can you prove that he talked to Don? Yes, here we go. Candice was there as well, decorating the tree.
Don, this is the first time I've ever talked to him. He walked up to me and he said, "Hey, Ryan," and he shook my hand. I had an opportunity to talk to him for about 30 to 40 minutes. And I asked him about this scenario because I was confused. I didn't want to come on tonight and say Don Wells lied by saying that the scent trail ended at the road, when Dave Rader... You'll see, I'm going to show you this clip in a second. Dave Rader said it ended at the bottom of the driveway. There's two different stories in this scenario where Summer disappeared. Dave Rader says end of the driveway. Don Wells says end of the dog trail.
And I've always said it doesn't matter. You know, like they're within, 100 feet of each other. So whatever happened to that scent, whether it was down the dog trail or down the driveway, was disrupted for some reason on Ben Hill Road. That's the main take home. However, there's a little bit more to this that Ryan found out yesterday, which is really interesting.
Don Wells, I talked to him about 30 to 40 minutes today, and he helped clarify, put it together. But I want to show you the confusion I had. And people have debunked Dave Rader, saying he's wrong and that it was actually the dog trail. Let me show you what Dave Rader said in an interview. He was on Duty Ron's channel, which is fantastic, by the way. Duty Ron is awesome. He's very similar to Dan. He's former law enforcement, and he has a really close connection with EquiSearch. They do a lot of lives together. I want to show you guys what Dave Rader said he observed when he was on the ground at the house, and what he observed the dogs did. This may give you guys a little more insight, too, into what was going on that day. Let's see right here.
You know, Dave, the folks are going to ask, there's different types of dogs. Bloodhounds, there's cadaver dogs. What all manner of dogs working this scene?
Yeah, they were actually using live track, and they were also using cadaver. From what I understand, they could not get a very good...
Actually, did you guys just hear that?
Yeah, they were using live scent and cadaver, but they weren't using them like at the same time. But they had a whole bunch of different dogs out there.
But I did hear on several occasions that the live track took it to the end of the driveway, and that's where they lost it. And usually that means they get into a car.
Now, that's interesting, too. That comment is exactly what Rachel just said.
And it very well can be that she got into a car, or she was picked up, or she was put on the back of a motorcycle, or she was put on a horse. All of those things could be possible. They're going to disrupt the scent. There might still be scent there, but it's disrupted. Likewise, the surface change itself could be the disruptor. The fact that there was loads of people there earlier on was a disruptor. We're talking about reasons why a dog might get confused and stop a track even if the scent's still there. And there obviously was scent still there because there were scent alerts further down Ben Hill Road, on the Gourley's land, on Fred Hill's land, and then to the west, going out from Ben Hill towards Beech Creek or Fields Road, whichever way the person went with Summer. Footprints on Mary Sexton's land, footprints on Mr. Phillips, Josh Phillips' land. We know scent was still there. What we don't have, though, is a consistent track. And the reason for that is for potentially a whole multitude of reasons. But anyway, let's just fast forward us a little bit.
And the car drove out to the road and went left or right. The dog still would track that to the road.
to the road, would it track where the car went or would it lose the scent?
I hate to keep saying our dogs, but we practiced that over and over. But if it's a long driveway, like he's saying, if they don't practice this regularly and certify however they do whatever, but on the hard surface, they would still track it down that driveway, because from the bits and pieces I saw from your videos is a dirt driveway, grass, whatever on the side.
It's gravel, yeah.
Yeah, well, they track it down the driveway. We're not disputing that. What we're disputing is if someone got into a car down the bottom of the driveway, would a dog still be able to track? Now, a dog that had practiced and practiced and practiced that very scenario might not be fooled by the fact that the scent got weaker. The dog might think, oh, we've done this before, so I'm going to stop, I'm going to pause, and then I'm going to think about it, and then the benefit of the training kicks in, and the dog starts to track again. I should be saying trailing, because this technically is trailing, not tracking. But again, what I would do is I would give the dog a break, I'd rescent the dog, and then I'd start from the place where that dog stopped to see whether it could pick up the track again.
Help you out, Dan, too, with your analysis of this case. I was talking to Don today, and we talked for about 34 minutes. And one of the things I asked him in that 30 or 40 minutes was, what's the deal with the dog trail? You're saying dog trail. Dave Rader's saying the driveway. There's the problem with what happened at the road. And he said, no. What I told the reporter, and this pulled it all together for me, you guys. He said, what I told the reporter was, I watched those dogs go down the dog trail. They did go down the dog trail. And then they went up the road a little bit, and the scent stopped at the driveway. So both stories are true. Dave Rader was correct.
You see? The penny now drops. And I know people are going to say, yeah, but Don's lying. Don's just, reinventing the past to make his story consistent. Don's opinion of Dave Rader wasn't that positive. Now, he may have changed his opinion. So if Dave Rader was wrong and just gave wrong information, I'm sure Don would have said so. But let's take a look at Ben Hill Road. So I've got loads of clips here. This, I don't know whose video this was, honestly. I don't know whether this was JLR or someone else. This is just before you get to the driveway. So the dog trail is coming down here at some point, and then you've got this is the driveway. So that distance that was travelled, so the dog trail coming to the hill now, and it looks very different when there's no leaves on the trees, but the dog trail's somewhere along here, and then you've got this is where the driveway is. So what we're now saying is Summer's scent was tracked down the dog trail, but continued along Ben Hill Road for a little bit. Well, you're still going to get scent. You're still going to get scent on this side. If she was walking along like the edge of the road, then of course you're still going to get scent. And then there's the driveway. So that's where it stopped. So it's at the end of the driveway where whatever happened. Why would the dog lose the scent at that point? Is it because she was picked up and carried and the dog was confused? Was she put on the back of a bike? Was she put in a car? Was she put on horse? All of those things could be true. Or the scent could have been lost for other reasons, that people are congregated down at the bottom of this driveway. So the dog could have lost the scent because you've got this major disruptive event going on, i.e. loads of people have been standing around. There's loads of reasons why, but we do know that the scent continued. This is the thing. The scent continued. So whatever happened next did not end Summer's scent. That's the important take-home message here.
It clings to moisture, right? So if she did walk along the road, that's why the dog would probably go along the road, because it's clinging to like the vegetation.
Yeah. If you come out onto, a completely flat, concrete, artificial surface, that scent is going to dissipate very, very quickly. Especially with disruptors like a bunch of people walking over the scent trail. But on the sides of the road where you've got earth and grass, yes, that's where scent clings. We're all on the same page here.
The scent changed. The dog changed behavior, and we know that something happened, whether she was thrown in a vehicle. The scent drastically changed, and the dogs lost it. So what Michelle's saying is, I think what Michelle struggles with is she doesn't like the abduction scenario.
Let me clarify here, because I'm talking about me. I believe, and I've believed now for 4 years, that Summer was abducted. However, I do not believe Summer was put in a car on Ben Hill Road and taken left onto Beech Creek Road.
It means that the footprints don't make sense. The footprints are further into Ben Hill Road.
The footprints make absolute sense for Summer being abducted. However, Ryan gets to the point where I've been at for the last 4 years.
If you go all the way up, and I'm not going to show you a map yet, but I'm just going to describe it to you. There's a property further up, maybe half a mile up the road. There's a neighbor named Fred Hill, and there's across the road, there's another neighbor named Gorley. His last name's Gorley. They had, according to neighbors, this doesn't come from law enforcement. Nothing at this point forward comes from law enforcement. It comes from neighbors saying, hey, you know what? They found footprints. They found Summer's footprints. There were searchers on my property, and they found footprints. And what's strange about this whole thing is if you go into Ben Hill Road, which is a dead-end road, and you go up to this guy's, Fred Hill's property, and you turn right into the woods, the track of where neighbors said they were finding footprints goes kind of westerly. It goes west from Ben Hill. And what Michelle doesn't, the reason I think Michelle doesn't like our discussion, the discussion Dan and I had the other night, was it promotes the idea that someone grabbed Summer at the base of the driveway and then sped out of Ben Hill Road, took off somewhere, God knows where, struck stranger abduction.
Yeah, I don't believe that happened.
I'm thinking it's not that scenario. And this may help Michelle tie together a vehicle incident with her footprints.
This is what I've been saying for 4 years.
Because they didn't necessarily have to leave Ben Hill Road.
Exactly.
They could have gone the other direction where the footprints started and all the evidence started.
Exactly. Thank you. Here is what I believe didn't happen. I don't believe that someone came up to the basement, took Summer out of the basement, or took Summer off her swing. I don't believe that an abductor came up onto the hill and carried Summer down the dog trail like Don believes. I believe Summer voluntarily left the hill. I believe Summer was used to wandering around, barefooted, chasing her brothers, as free as a bird, and she could run like the wind. She was a little country girl. She went down that dog trail voluntarily. Maybe she went to play a little bit down Ben Hill Road. She could have even, I've speculated that she could have even wandered a ways down Ben Hill Road and then got picked up by somebody. But if the scent carried on perfectly fine up to that point of that driveway, then yeah, the disruptor likely happened there. So it could be that Summer was picked up and carried. It could be that Summer was put on a horse. I got a whole video about, was Summer taken away on a horse because, you know, someone rides by and says, you want to ride on my horse? Yeah, of course you do. Or a motorcycle. But yeah, it could easily have been a car or a truck. Absolutely. But taken into Ben Hill Road, hidden somewhere in the vicinity, in that hollow. We're all on the same page. This is my video from the other day. So this is Mr. Phillips. I was informed by deputies to make sure when I post anything, to make sure I explain it in full detail so there's no way anyone could misinterpret it. Someone got confused over me calling a footprint physical evidence and blew their phone lines up thinking it was new evidence. So I'm being very precise here. 2 footprints, child size, barefoot, not my kid's prints. 1 on my land, 1 on a neighbour's that doesn't want their name or location mentioned. Well, I'll mention it. It's Mary Sexton. It's here. Mary Sexton is no longer alive. There is a relationship by marriage between Mary Sexton and Don Wells. Mary Sexton was Don Wells' stepdad's sister, but there was no love lost between Mary Sexton and the Wells. It's not like they were inside each other's houses all the time. They weren't. Mary Sexton was pissed off with the Wells because she believed she should have inherited her brother's property. He died in 2007. So Don's stepdad, Bill Gold, he passed it on to Don Wells' mother. She died in 2011, I think. And that's when the Wells went to live at Ben Hill Road. Mary Sexton believes that that land should have been hers. She should have inherited it from her brother Bill. But instead, Don ultimately ended up getting it. So there's no love lost between them. And it's not like they're in each other's houses. So the fact that there was footprints on her land isn't because, Don and Candice went there socialising. It's not that. If anybody's thinking that, it's not. So that's the other neighbour that he talks about. And then it's cut off here, but Josh Phillips used to, he doesn't live there now, but he owned a piece of land here that had a Beech Creek address, but the woods backs onto Simpson Road. So there's footprints high up on a ridge, or at least behind, like in a difficult spot. And then there was footprints behind a ridge on Josh Phillips' land in the woods. I do not want my location shown either. Search dogs barked on my land. Deputy asked me questions about my kids' shoe sizes. I asked if the dog's barking meant it was her scent. He said yes. Said it had to be a recent print left after she disappeared. Informed him my kids are never barefoot in the woods. Prints were about 3/4 of a mile or so apart. The print in my yard was behind a ridge, so not where we would have walked. He went on to say, I don't know that they got it, but he talked a lot on Facebook groups in the early days. And then he deleted all his posts because people started attacking him and accusing him. Like the internet does. We can't have nice things on the internet because people get shitty. But he did go on to say, and there's even screenshots of conversations between Josh Phillips and Mary Sexton's daughter talking about the footprints on their respective land. I've shown them on previous videos. So we know these footprints existed. And Dave Rader got into town on the Saturday night. So Summer went missing on the Tuesday, the 15th. Dave Rader got into town on the Saturday night. So that was the night of the 19th of June. And he joined the search on the Sunday, the 20th of June. On the 19th of June was when the footprints were found on Mr. Phillips' land. So they were already 4 days old. The natural time and exposure to the elements and stuff are going to be dissipating a little bit. But because the footprints were probably in a muddy area, she was barefooted, there's lots of skin cells there, so there's still plenty of scent. Now, the problem was that searchers had already been through that area once. So there was loads of adult footprints. So you can't say, well, she was with an adult who had a shoe size of X, because there was loads of adult footprints. It just so happened that a dog alerted on this footprint and they inspected it and it was a child's barefooted footprint. This is what Dave Rader talked about to Police Off the Cuff. I'm going to play this clip again. Played it the other day, played it many times, 2.5 minutes.
I can tell you the grid pattern that I seen from the incident command from inside and the mapping that they were doing and where they were sending us is that everything in and around that house I would have to say probably a 2-mile radius around that house was saturated. So okay. I mean, then there was the thought that on that Saturday night that I got into town, which would have been 4 days after she went missing, is that somebody said that they found a footprint. Now, I don't know the truth about that, but they had TBI, FBI, they had some of the locals there late at night. I got into town about 11 o'clock, and they were still searching until about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, from what I understand, because they went under the assumption is that, oh, hell, maybe if she was abducted, they're seeing all of this go down. They dropped her back off near the woods, and that she was now walking the woods by herself. So then they set up this good perimeter around there and just kind of worked our way more towards the house to create that funnel effect. Okay. And we followed creeks. There wasn't a damn stone unturned. I can't imagine.
It sounds like the initial search was concentrated close to the home, I guess with the belief that either she had wandered off or she was somewhere close. That's basically what you're telling me. I mean, if we analyze what you just said.
Right. So basically, what you do in a search scenario is that if the mother, in this case Candace, sits there and says, "Hey, my daughter walked away," you always go from the point last seen,
Sure.
and you just saturate the piss out of that area. And again, as the investigation goes on, that's when things start to turn. That you might have to shift your search strategy per se, to expanding that circle depending on the scenario and what the investigation points and leads to.
Law enforcement's theory, when they found these footprints and then they found another footprint on Mary Sexton's land, these pins that I've put in, Ryan does make this point, and he's absolutely right, that I just dropped the pins onto the land. I don't know exactly where the footprints were on either Mr. Phillips' land or Mary Sexton's land. So they could have been, I know they were behind the house. That's all I know. They were behind the house. So they could have been like Mary Sexton's properties, like long and thin. I think there's 2 parcels that belong to Mary Sexton. And then Josh Phillips, his is, just let me get my map up. I did a live stream where I got the property boundaries map and superimposed it on this map. So you could see exactly where the pieces of land were. Mary Sexton's like here. So the footprints could have been down here, still on Mary Sexton's land. And then Josh Phillips' land is kind of like there. So again, I've put the footprints like near the road, but they could have been further into the woods. So somebody is carrying Summer out. Now, the footprints could have been here. And the carrying her could have been down here. And what's down here? Oh, what's down here? Oh, there's Fields Road and Bell Road. And this is where they searched extensively. When they came back and did a search in November, their helicopter went round and round and round and round this area. When they came back in November, they searched the Fields Road area. They came back in February of 2022 and searched the Fields Road area again. So it's all looking like Summer was carried. You can go either this way to Beech Creek and taken out, or you could be taken this way. So the footprint could have been like down here, and you're taken this way. Or, as Ryan talked about, you're taken the easiest way. Look at this. You can see here that this is high. Right, so this is the ridge here. So the footprints could have been further this way. And then the footprints on Mr. Phillips' land could have been further this way. But you've got this cutting through. But I don't believe that they went here to begin with, because that's Goaly's house. There was a scent alert on Goaly's land. Now again, I've just dropped the pin. It could have been there. Fred says there was scent alert on his land, on 207. So, what if Summer was taken, whether it's carrying, on a horse, on a bike, in a car, in this direction. So this is Beech Street, this is into the hollow. And then she could have been kept there. She could have been kept there for a day, 2 days, 3 days. She could have been alive for all that time while searchers were out there. So that scent alert was found on the 16th, right? And then on the 19th, you've got the footprints being found because a dog alerted on them. So law enforcement believed that Summer had been abducted, and they panicked because of all the furore that was going on, and they brought her back, and now she was wandering about in the woods by herself. Now, I can't say that happened. I don't think that happened, and I don't know that law enforcement believe that happened now, given the new information that we've got. That's the theory that they were working with. So what if Summer was taken into the hollow somewhere, kept somewhere, and then walked out? She could have been walked out before the searches ever got going, before Summer was ever reported missing. Or she could have been kept alive and then taken out because they were panicking. But she was still alive because she was walked out. To avoid detection, you're not going to go this way because there's a camera here. There's only one way out in a vehicle, and there's a camera on Blue Reef Don's house. So you take her through here. You avoid that house, so you take her up there, up onto the ridge, which is going to be a difficult walk. So you set her down to reposition her. That's where the footprint comes from. And you carry on walking. Once you're past here, then you go down the easy way. And Phillips Land is kind of here. So you get another footprint. And that takes you then onto Bell Road and Fields Road. And that's exactly, this area is exactly where they concentrated their searches in November 2021 and February 2022. I can't make it any clearer. These scent alerts tell the story. Whether the parents have a hand in this or not, these scent alerts tell the story. Now, Ryan goes on to talk about Andy Bernard, saying that the easiest way to get somebody from Ben Hill Road out to this in this direction is down here, and it's an 8-minute walk. So you could be out. Now, obviously, carrying a little girl, maybe it's going to take you a little bit longer, but if you're fit, you're going to be able to walk her in 10 minutes out of the search zone. And this was the search zone. Where the red is the search zone. Just approximately that they did in the initial search. And then they came back in November and February and they searched Fields Road. And then that was that. We heard nothing more until the break in the case and the search on the 13th of November, 9.5 miles away on Paul Hill's property. So she's walked out. Maybe she's killed at some point. She's maybe buried. She's moved. And maybe, unbeknownst to Paul Hill, is taken to his property. What do you think to all that? These scent alerts tell the story. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Oh, and don't forget Cold Case Christmas tonight over on my other channel, Michelle Walks. It's episode 7, 6 PM UK time. What's the case going to be? Here's the trailer.